Today's episode is with Chad Willardson, a high net worth financial advisor with a side mission to make kids smart about money. We talk about book reports, reading books rather than watching TV, his belief about learning and earning, the power of yes, and making money a comfortable conversation. Chad's an all-star, and I hope you love this episode. Hey, Chad, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here, Mike.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier before we started recording, I feel like I know you a little bit because I've heard you on at least one other podcast with, I think it was with Dan Sullivan, maybe Scott Donnell, talking about your book and Gravy Stack and some other things you're doing to help kids with financial literacy. So anyway, it seems like I know you, but for everybody who hasn't had my experience, here's a little bit more about Chad. So Chad is he's a wealth advisory firm owner. He's a money man. He is a chartered financial fiduciary. He's the founder and president of Pacific Capital, which is a wealth advisory firm serving entrepreneurs and families. He's a 3-time best-selling author. His first book was called Stress-Free Money. That was a 2021 book, one of the 21 books to read in 2021 by Forbes. And his second book, Smart Not Spoiled, great name, by the way, The 7 Money Skills Kids Must Master Before Leaving the Nest, is about increasing financial literacy among young people across the country, which we're in desperate need of. And his newest book, Chad's newest book, is Beyond the Money, 8 Lifestyle Shifts for Entrepreneurs with 8 Figures or More, which, at least as of today, you can get for less than 1 figure. You can get for 99 cents today, and hopefully forever on Amazon for the Kindle version. Chad also invests as a treasurer, elected treasurer, so he's sort of a politician for the city of Corona, California, a $450 million portfolio for his community. And he's been recognized as one of the top wealth management experts in the country, been written about in the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, U.S. News and World Report, and many others. And Chad lives in Southern California, and he's joining us today. So Chad, I start every podcast with the same simple question, and that is, how did it happen for you?
Yeah, I had a hunch you were going to ask that. I guess the question is, what is it? But I'm going to assume it's how did it happen. I'm going to say, how did I get to where I am today? And I have to rewind back to my early childhood. I grew up in Southern California as the oldest of 4 kids. I have 3 younger sisters. Neither of my parents were entrepreneurs, but they were very hard workers, very much very honest, hard workers, just good with people. Family values was very important to us. We're a faith-based family. And ever since I grew up, I was taught to just really be the best that I could be and make an impact for other people. And along the way, that's what I've really tried to do. And I go back to when I was first married. My wife and I next week celebrate 21 years of marriage. And so we were married as college students. Thank you. And I was 22, she was 20. And when we were married, we were students. And I had a job after school. I was making $6.25 an hour at a market research survey call center, taking the bus to work after school from campus, and then taking the bus home or walking home to our little apartment. And, fast forward, and our lifestyle is very different. And I think how it happened over a long period of time of consistency and discipline and hard work and working with great people and a lot of family support. But it didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen instantly. It didn't happen because of luck or inheritance. It happened with a lot of struggle and failure and sacrifice along the way, for sure.
Yeah, and what sounds like a humble beginning as well. This
for sure.
This $6.25 an hour job has me intrigued because I'm always thinking about the jobs that I had as a kid and then up through college. And I worked in cemetery. I worked for a trash company, which actually ended up becoming my career. I worked for a fence company. I did all these different things, and I'm always wondering about what the takeaway is. What are the things from those jobs that have stuck with me? And so I'm wondering, like, whether it was this job or others that you had, what stuck with you? What do you use now that you learned in these sort of beginning level jobs?
Yeah. I think one thing I took away from that call center job was goal setting, team building, putting in the work regardless of how long it takes. There were days where I had a lot of homework to do, but I stayed late to finish the work and make sure that I hit my goals of how many calls I could make and how many successes I had, regardless of what I saw people leaving the second it turned 5 o'clock, and a lot of people would just stop their calls and go home. But if I didn't have my goals met for the day, I would stay until I finished the job. And I think that, well, that was quickly recognized by the CEO, founder, owner of the company, who only after a few months kind of made me a team leader and a manager. And I was by far the youngest in the group of the 50 to 60 people there. And then he eventually just pulled me to be his right-hand man, almost like his almost like an assistant, intern / just do whatever I ask you to do kind of a guy. You know, I'd take his dry cleaning in, I'd take his wife's car to get car washed. I was helping him write his book, his autobiography. But I got to then sit in his massive corner office, and I was taking notes in every meeting that he had. I was listening to every phone call. When he came in and had almost like a disciplinary meeting with one of his employees or managers, I was right there. I heard and absorbed everything. So for a 22-year-old college kid, I feel like I got a fire hose of training from a really successful entrepreneur. And I learned a lot. Actually, he tried to get me to drop out of college and open up a branch for him in Laguna Beach, California. So when I was in college, I'm from Orange County, California. I'm a California boy, but I went to school up at BYU, Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah. So he was really wanting me to drop out of college and venture out and start this branch for him in California. But my parents encouraged me otherwise. And I'm very glad that I stayed in school and took a different career path. But I learned a lot for sure. And I still use those lessons today.
Oh, so he wanted you to drop out of school and start this thing.
Yes.
Oh,
yes. I was like a junior in college, and he was like, I'm going to pay you lots of money. You've got so much potential. Let me just get you on my team. And you can go down and start the branch like next year. So he was trying to get me to quit college early. Yes. And just be his right-hand guy.
Nice. So when I'm listening to that, I'm thinking to myself, okay, two things, right? One is the power of yes. Like, oh, okay, you want me to do this? Yes, I'll do that. You want me to do this? Yes, I'll do that. Right. Because I'm going to make my mark. I'm going to say yes. So I think that's very important, particularly easy and early in your career. And then there's the learning, not earning part, right? So you're not earning much, and it'd be easy for you to say, well, that's not my job or whatever, but you were into it for the learning. And this person was actually pretty skilled at selling you on that, even if, maybe not overtly, but certainly, certainly seemed like, and the stuff is stuck with you. So that's phenomenal.
And today I preach to our team that learners are earners and readers are leaders. And so everyone on my team here, none of us are know-it-alls. We all proclaim to be learn-it-alls, and everyone on the team actually reads a book that relates to their role every month and submits a book report with actionable ideas at the end of the book report. So it's something that I'm very big on learning, and I think that has really helped propel my career to where it is today.
So tell me about the structure of the book report. That's really interesting. Is there a standard structure?
Basically, there's not a specific structure of how the report needs to come in, but everyone on my team is eligible for a quarterly bonus, and they have to set 4 goals that are outside, they're kind of stretch goals outside their day-to-day roles that can make a permanent impact on the company, for our clients and our team. And they have 4 goals, plus the 5th is read 3 books, submit 3 book reports in the quarter. And that's how they earn their quarterly bonuses, which are above and beyond their salary and benefits and profit sharing and things like that. So the book reports really are typically 1 to 2 page bullet point summaries of the key highlights that they've learned. And at the end is the idea to implement that we can be a better firm and better serve our clients is XYZ. And then we set an action plan to do something to make a change, make an adjustment, or do something different because of the book that they've read. And
so tell me about the genesis of this, Chad. Where did that idea come from? How did you sell it? And what's been the buy-in?
I first of all, full disclosure, I hated reading as a kid. I was not a reader. I hated reading books in high school. I hated reading books in college. Like, I did not like to read. Just tell me the main points and I'll try to pass the test. Like, I just wasn't into reading, especially actual books. As soon as I graduated college and I started at Merrill Lynch, I realized how little I knew. And if I wanted to get ahead, I had to learn by studying the smart people and what they taught. And so I became an obsessive reader. People are out partying on the weekends or late at night, they're watching TV or movies. I was reading. I completely quit movies and TV shows. The last TV show I watched was over 15 years ago. So I've never logged into Netflix in my life. I don't watch much TV. I watch sports, but I don't watch TV shows, or mostly I don't watch many movies. I became a voracious reader. And so I've been reading between 100 and 200 books a year, nonfiction, and highlighting and making notes and trying to implement a little thing from each book. And so I felt like asking my team to read 1 book a month was not that big of a deal. At first, I got a little resistance from a couple people. And if you're watching this, you know who you are. But they've completely adopted it, and they get excited and they say, hey, I found a book, and so basically I have a big library at my house and I have a little library here at the office. And so, hey, can we add this to the library? And so I'll buy the books, and someone will say, this was an awesome book. I think it applies to everyone. It's really how to be a better listener for our clients. And so everyone will read it for one of their monthly goals. But the adoption's been great. In fact, it's almost the end of the month, so they're turning in their book reports for December. And I had one team member submit 2 book reports. She decided to read 2 books in December, and it's only the 20th right now, and she's already finished both. So I think it's a culture of learning and growth that I've tried to instill in the team.
And you read them all, and what do you do with them after?
I read all the book reports, and I'll give suggestions on the ideas to implement what they put at the bottom of the report. And I'll say, I like that idea. Let's have so-and-so, get working on that.
Okay.
So I don't like everyone to read and do nothing and just have warm fuzzies from the book. I want us to actually do something because of it. So that's an important part of it to me.
So you were in Strategic Coach. I was in Strategic Coach for about 7 years, a decade or so ago. And I don't know if you got this idea from there. It sounds like maybe you didn't. You said,
I didn't.
It came from Merrill. When I started doing the 90-day, goal setting in Strategic Coach, I thought that had such an impact on me. So I did something similar. I put a program together for all of our team with personal and professional goals in it every quarter, and it was the basis for earning a bonus. And I thought it was the greatest thing I could ever do for people who wouldn't ordinarily do this on their own. And that is help them become goal setters and goal achievers, because so many people walk through life just letting it happen to them and wishing for something different. And I thought, man, if we could, get this into people in a positive way and reward them for progress, it was like the best thing I could think of doing.
Yeah, I would say now the tool I use is absolutely from Strategic Coach. It's called The Moving Future, and it's the 90-day goal setting template. Essentially, reflect on the last quarter, look at the next quarter. It also kicked off way before I joined Strategic Coach. I've only been in it 4 years, but I read a book called The 12-Week Year. where you divide your year into 12 weeks. And instead of setting goals for the full 12 months, set them for 3 months. And
Oh, yeah.
I started implementing that, but I really got a lot more clear with the team once I joined Strategic Coach and got the Moving Future tool that we started using that. So,
Okay. And so you started your career, or maybe you didn't exactly start at Merrill, but you got to Merrill
I did.
early.
Yeah, I started directly at Merrill Lynch from
Okay.
college. Yes.
And just as a broker, as a
Yeah, we were called
analyst.
financial advisors,
Okay.
investment advisors. Yeah. So I was dealing with the public, investing money professionally for people.
And so you, I'm thinking you had a good career there. You moved up. You were probably doing very well. And then in 2011,
Yep.
2011, you started Pacific
Yep.
Capital. Tell me about significance of 11, if there is any, and also what prompted you to make the move and go out on your own?
It's kind of like the movie Jerry Maguire, where I just had got up and decided to leave. There was a ton of bureaucracy that changed. It just got uncomfortable and not fun to work at Merrill Lynch. Once Bank of America bought them during the Great Recession of 2009, 2008. So by 2011, I was not enjoying it anymore. I didn't feel like we were putting clients' interests first. I felt like we were putting the bank's interests first, and that didn't sit well with me. So I took a major risk. I was 32 years old. Most people that I'd spoken with confidentially thought it was a dangerous move and unnecessary. I was in the top 2% of Merrill Lynch nationwide at that time, had a big corner office, a lot of perks, a lot of awards and recognition, but it didn't feel right. I just didn't feel like that was where I wanted to be long-term. And so I had never started a business before that day, but 11/11/11 sounded like a lucky date to me. So I left and started Pacific Capital and have since founded or co-founded many businesses and had a great growth. Started over after 9 years at Merrill Lynch, but we've grown to significantly outpace what I was doing when I was at Merrill Lynch. So it was definitely the right long-term move. Once again, not without struggle or failures or hard times, but absolutely worth the journey.
And just out of curiosity, and this may be out of left field, but I know that sometimes when those kinds of transitions happen, companies like Merrill, and not Merrill specifically, but they don't really like that. They don't like when a high performer leaves. Was there a dynamic of that to your departure?
Absolutely. I played by the rules. I was extremely careful and compliant with all the rules and regulations of a transition of me leaving and opening up my own company. They still were coming after me. They were suing me. It was costing me a lot of money to defend completely bogus claims for almost a year and a half. They just basically want to make it miserable when a high performer leaves. So it's as expensive and as miserable as possible. Right. But I survived it. It was crazy. It was absolutely out of line. They had way deeper pockets than me, but I survived it.
And the people that were advising you initially, who you were saying, well, that's it. You used the word dangerous. Was that part of what they were thinking, or was there some other danger that they were trying to help
I think a lot of people were saying, like, why would you leave? Like, you've got it all there at Merrill Lynch. You're one of the top guys in the country. They fly you around to speak, and you got all these cool perks and the big name, the big brand. And none of that was really important to me. It was more about serving the clients and having the freedom to be I'm a very upfront person. I tell the truth regardless. So I wanted to be able to have that unfiltered relationship with clients. And at that point in time, when I left, we could not have unfiltered relationships. We had to have extremely filtered conversations and extremely filtered emails, extremely filtered relationships, to where I felt like I was not allowed to always be myself and always be transparent. And transparency and trust is, to me, is very important in business and in personal life.
Yeah.
So I was no longer a match for that company anymore.
And maybe you weren't always able to say to a client or recommend to a client what you really thought or wanted to. Huh? Yeah.
Yep.
So you, Pacific Capital, you've sort of grown into, a firm that's really specializes in, I'd say, it's ultra high net worth.
Yeah, to us,
clients.
it's 8 and 9 figure entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs with, if I were to put a range, I'm going to say 10 million to 200 million to invest. That's our target client. That's whom we serve.
And I'm sure that everybody listening to this has, if they're not there, has some inkling of desire to be like, wow, that would be cool. If only I was there. But what I've read from some of your stuff, and it's not as easy as it sounds. Like at every stage in life brings you new challenges and opportunities, and there's a lot to work through, which you do in your newest book. But this sort of caught me when I was reading this. It says, in the book, you'll discover how a change in focus can align your actions and with your priorities, dramatically improving your health, relationships, and happiness. Beyond the Money doesn't tell you what you want to hear. Instead, it tells you what you need to hear if you truly want to achieve fulfillment while increasing lifestyle freedom to do more of what you love. And as I was reading that, I was thinking to myself, okay, let's do a little test here, or a little lesson. You can give me a little lesson here. So just say, for the sake of argument, a person sells their business for $50 million. Maybe after taxes, they net 35 or something like that. So they have $35 million that they've never had before, right? The most they've ever had in money is maybe a couple million that they've saved up in their 401k and whatever over time. So a person like that comes to you, or comes to your firm, and what's some of the stuff that they may not expect to hear, or what's some of the stuff that they don't want to hear? Is that a fair question to ask without, just in generalities? And
I think most entrepreneurs are really good at doing their business. But as far as organizing their financial life and prioritizing their attention, they have a hard time with that.
Yeah.
It's sometimes difficult for them to filter out what matters and what doesn't matter. They often are aimless after a business sale. They lose their identity. They're not sure what to do next. So I really coach them on how to stay engaged, how to do things that fulfill their talents and their priorities and what they love to do, because they're in their DNA is to create and start and be challenged and take risks. So it's not in their DNA to sell a business and play golf 7 days a week for the next 25 years. That's not in their DNA. So it's a lot of mindset coaching of how to organize your financial life and your future business ventures to really bring out the best you and keep you fulfilled and highly energized, regardless of what you're doing. So maybe you do it better and smarter the second time than you did the first time. You don't have to do the same exact route for the next business venture.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's something they're often not prepared for. But when I talk to them about a pre-company sale, it makes a lot of sense, and they have a game plan. So they're selling so they can have freedom from the burden and the stresses and all these other things. But I like to talk about, what are you going towards? What's your freedom to? And we talk about your game plan for the next phase of life, which is really about Beyond the Money, the third book.
So the freedom from is something that they get sort of more easily than the freedom to.
Correct. They don't think about the freedom to as much. They just know what they don't want to do anymore and what's really giving them health issues and stress and sleepless nights and all that stuff. They're very familiar with that, but then they kind of don't know what to do.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. I've seen a lot of, and they actually don't do much, often don't do much of talking to people like you, at least in my experience, before they make the decision to sell, so they can kind of get their mind around this freedom to concept, right? They're just so focused
Yep.
on freedom from.
And if they
And
sell the business and they have a commitment to work in the business as an employee, CEO, president for a couple of years, that's even worse because they really then feel trapped. They're in their home, but they have no keys. Like they're in the business, but they're not in the driver's seat. And so it's a real struggle. It's mentally painful. And so a lot of times I try to help them structure that differently so they have more freedom and flexibility so that it's not
right.
as much of a shock.
I can very much relate to that because so many, like I did something similar where I stayed around for 3 years. And I really tried to be good about this, and I probably wasn't perfect, but so many people that I see, they sell the business, they stick around, they think it's going to be just like it was, and that they'll be able to run it, and they'll be treated just like they were when they were, the entrepreneur or the owner.
Right.
And it's like, they don't get that you gave up all that for this money that you now have. You maybe you didn't give it all up, but you gave up some of it. It's not yours anymore. And that's hard.
For sure.
It's hard, especially when you stick around.
Yeah.
Huh. And if you don't mind, before we drop off here, because we don't have that much time, this your second book, the Smart Not Spoiled, and this company that you're a board member of, maybe probably an investor in, called Gravy Stack. I'm really interested if you just talk to us a little bit about financial literacy with kids, and what your book's about, what Gravy Stack's about, and what we as parents aren't doing and maybe need to be doing better to help prepare our kids for a sound, financial future.
Yeah, this is the topic that I get asked about the most. I think it's on most parents and grandparents' minds. I have 5 kids myself, ages 7 to 18. So they're all in school. Our oldest graduates next May, June. So I've been passionate about teaching kids to be smart with money and not spoiled because I'm a parent. And naturally, that's what I want for my kids. And I just realized that if I don't have all this together as a financial expert, then most people don't. It's not taught well in schools, and most parents don't know where to start or what to teach. So I try to create a very simple guidebook with specific topics. I chose 7. And with each chapter, I have actual activities or conversation prompts for families to really just go through and have a conversation at home. I think number 1 advice to parents and families is make money a comfortable conversation topic in the home. Don't make it taboo. Don't make it a contentious argument every time the word money is mentioned in the family. Have intention around it. Your kids are learning stuff just by watching you. If you push a button on your phone and a box shows up the next day, they understand that, like, okay, if you push a button on the phone, I get stuff. Right. So if you're not intentional about teaching how that whole thing works, then they may have very twisted views in their money mindset and their blueprints that carry with them for the next 30 to 50 years. I've seen it. So a lot of the work that I do in the beginning of a relationship is asking them about, how was money talked about when you guys were kids? What did your parents do? Did they fight about money a lot? Is there a scarcity or overabundance mindset around money? How do you guys make money decisions? Who do you talk to? Who do you rely on? So as kids, we teach them in high school how to dissect a frog, and we teach them how to, learn all the different parts of a cell membrane, but they have no idea how to have their own budget or to apply for a loan, or what's good and what's a bad financial decision, how to avoid get-rich-quick schemes. So Smart Not Spoiled is the book that I wrote that sold more copies in the first week than my other 2 books combined, cumulatively, because the topic is so critical and everyone, obviously, it's top of mind, which led to me being a co-founder in the company called Gravy Stack with Scott Donnell and Travis Adams. And so we're just now starting a podcast for next year, 2023. We've already filmed a bunch, but the show is called the Smart Money Parenting Show, where we're going to be talking to parents and really given a lot of different tips and ideas on how to raise kids to be financially prepared to succeed. Gravy Stack is the financial bank for kids, but it's like a game. So there's learning and gaming and earning all in one. It's live to the public sometime in Q1 of 2023. So hopefully the app is downloadable soon, but we're very excited about it. We've invested millions of dollars in it, have a huge team of 50 working on it, and we're hoping to create 50 million financially competent kids who are prepared to succeed in the real world in the next 10 years. So we have a big mission-driven goal for that company.
Nice. And if you want to listen and learn more about Gravy Stack, I did happen to do an episode with Chad's partner, Scott Donnell, episode 344. You can check it out. We talk a lot about Gravy Stack and the gamification and all the cool things.
Scott's the fun, high energy listen. So for sure, yeah. you don't even have to speed his episode up. Just listen to Scott.
Hey, one last thing before we go on. I want to get back to this TV and movie thing. So you haven't,
sure.
You're just not absorbing movies or any TV. How about the rest of your family? Because I'm just curious, are they still sort of, I'm going to air quote, normal around TV watching, and you're sort of the outlier, or is it a family?
That's actually a great question. No one's ever asked me that. They are, they're not normal in TV watching. So they read a lot. Even our kids, the little kids are reading the Harry Potter 700-page books. They're normal in movie watching. So my kids still watch movies. Obviously, we screen for parental advisement, but they still go to the movies and they'll watch movies. So I'm the oddball weirdo that doesn't really. I go to maybe one movie a year, but they still do the movie thing. They don't do the TV show thing. That's not really. We have too many other priorities: musical instruments, reading, sports, and other things like that. Than TV shows. So
okay. Well, I'm glad I got that question in, because I'm more of a reader. Well, we're all readers, but I'm less of a TV watcher than the rest of the family, and it gets a little, especially
it's annoying. It's frustrating.
Anyway, all right. Well, Chad, thank you so much for being on the show today. Chad's company is Pacific Capital, pacificcapital.com. Is there any place else where you would like to be communicated with or found, or any place you want to send people? And is there anything I didn't ask you that I should have that you have to say before you go?
Other place to find me is LinkedIn. Follow me there. I post daily insights on LinkedIn. And this week, my website, construction should be done for chadwillardson.com, which will have all the things that I'm doing and the ways you can engage with me there. I think you did a great interview. I don't think there's anything else to ask. I believe my first book is Stress-Free Money, and I believe that money can be a very stressful thing. The markets are uncertain, interest rates, inflation, the economy, everything is a lot to absorb. And I believe it's my job to help spread the message of hope and give people an opportunity and the tools to reduce their stress around money and to enjoy their life more. And so that's really what my mission is.
Sounds like a great mission. Thank you for doing it. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for being you. And thank you for your flexibility too, because we had a few technical issues that I'm not going to bother you, the rest of you with.
No, my pleasure.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.